earlier this morning, I was trending on Netanyahu, and now I'm trending again for some skirmishes with Tucker and with Candace. And look, my take on and I've been actually doing a somewhat jibes with Candace that are not substantive at all. I posted as a kind of not a peace offering, but nevertheless, I posted a picture of Candace and I kind of not hugging each other, but really our faces really up close. And this is from the old days in Blexit. This is when Candace was doing. Was going after DEI and affirmative action and Black Lives Matter. And I was like, wow, this is the Candace that I came to sort of admire and respect. This is the Candace that was totally on board with the themes of Hillary's America, exposing the racist history of the Democratic Party. Candace was in some ways a kind of oracle, taking ideas that I was writing about, but transmitting them in a way that I couldn't have to Blacks. This was the value of Candace Owens. And I would say a similar point about Tucker. Tucker came to fame because of what he said about the deep state and the police state, and the way he talked about COVID, and the way he would take on some of these issues that were not, by and large, being given amplification on Fox. And then, of course, he walks away from Fox. So this is sort of the Tucker we admire. But alas, and this is the real regret, we look at Candace today and Tucker, and they're different people. And not only are they different people, they have a completely different agenda. They're both obsessed with the Jews. They're obsessed with Israel. They talk little about anything else. If they talk about some other subject and you get into it for 3 minutes, you suddenly realize it comes right back to the Mossad. It's right back to Netanyahu. It's right back to Israel. And so it's like, I feel like this is a sleight of hand. You remember the Dave Chappelle joke when he basically said, look, I went to meet this actor, but this actor was playing a role. And because he's a method actor, he told me, listen, don't call me by my name. Call me by the name I'm playing in this role, because I've got to maintain the role. I'm a method actor. I'm really not this guy. I'm the fictional character I'm playing. And basically, Dave Chappelle was like, I'm a little disappointed because, that's not the guy I showed up here to meet. And this is kind of my point about that we signed up for Candace and we're getting a different Candace. We signed up for Tucker and we're getting a different Tucker. So we have no obligation to get on these buses that we never signed up to ride on. That's the point. And I think this is a point not just about me. I'm reflecting, I think, here the mainstream of the Republican Party, even the mainstream of MAGA. I mean, we signed up for MAGA the way Trump defines MAGA. Let's remember he created it. Trump is the one who said what MAGA is. And for Trump, as for me, and by the way, this would be true for Reagan as well, MAGA involves America first, but not America alone. America has allies. And I think Trump thinks that by and large, the interests of Israel are congruent with and supportive of the United States. Reagan would agree. I agree. I think the mainstream of the Republican Party agrees. The mainstream of the MAGA voters agree. So essentially what you have here is a faction that is trying to rip MAGA into two against Trump, trying to take MAGA away from Trump and say, no, Trump, you're wrong. Our enemy is not radical Islam. It's actually Israel. And you're not controlling Netanyahu. He's controlling you. Think of actually, none of these people, frankly, would have the guts to go say this to Trump, because he would have nothing to do with them again. In fact, he would treat them in such a degrading way that I don't even know if they would be able to show their faces in public again. So they don't dare to do any of that. But nevertheless, I think in their own way, and maybe their intention here is, listen, Trump is too dug in. Trump is too sort of internationalist. Trump does believe in this idea of enemies and allies. We're going to try to work on J.D. Vance. So in the days after Trump, we, the anti-Israel, anti-Jewish faction, we're going to try to take over this movement and maybe push people like Mark Levin and push people like Josh Hammer and push people like Dinesh out of it. And I'm like, really? If you push us out, where's your majority? I'm not even sure you have a majority in MAGA, let alone a majority in the country. This kind of division is only going to help our enemies. It's only going to help the radical jihadis abroad. It's only going to help the cultural left and the Democrats at home. So in the end, I fully recognize that we need some sort of a truce on this issue inside of MAGA and inside of the Republican Party. I recognize that there are people who have a lot of questions about Israel. All right, we're going to have to deal with those questions. I recognize there are big issues that need to be debated. All right, I, for one, am willing to debate them. I do think that our film is a very good starting point for this kind of truce, for this kind of reconciliation. The film engages these issues, but it does it in a way that I think is ultimately very informative. It introduces elements of history, archaeology, biblical understanding, biblical prophecy that are not fully fleshed out in the debate right now. So it elevates the debate. And there is a very powerful spiritual element in this film, a spirit of restoration, a spirit of renewal. The film, I think, in the end, does and can bring us together. So I urge you to see it in theaters today, if you possibly can. Go to thedragonsprophecyfilm.com, put in your zip code, buy your tickets. Off you go. I'd also love to hear from you, by the way. Please make comments or make videos with your reaction to the film after you see it. Post those. And if you tag me on X, tag me at Dinesh D'Souza. I will do my best to share some of those reactions. Again, the film goes into streaming tomorrow. So if you want to be one of the first people to watch at home, tomorrow, or of course this coming weekend. I realize a lot of us are working, and so not so easy to see during the week, no problem. Sign up, get ready, make plans to watch it this weekend. This film, I think, can be truly transformational. I mean, transformational in a political sense, yes, but also transformational for you. Why? Because in the end, the theme of the film is that the battle between good and evil is raging inside your human heart. It's a battle in the end for your soul. And at the end, it's not even about whether you support Israel or whether you support Netanyahu. You're not obliged to do any of those things. But what I do want you to do is, in the end, take sides, and take sides for God against the dragon, take sides for good against evil. This is the way we have spiritual renewal in this country and in the world.
When I first came to America around 1980, I had $500 in my pocket. Now, if I had been frugal and not spent a penny of that money, what would it be worth? What could it actually buy now compared to what it could buy in 1980? Answer, less than $130. Why is that? Because the US government, through the Fed, is constantly printing money. When the government prints money, there's more money chasing the same amount of goods and services. So money goes down in value. Money buys less and less. Now, the Fed has been at it since 1913. That's why a dollar today can only buy what a few cents could buy in 1913. And the government continues to print oceans of money. It never stops. An ounce of gold reached a high of $850 in 1980. Now, it's worth around $3,900 an ounce. So, historically, over time, gold has gone up and up in value, and dollars have gone down and down. And what about in the last 12 months? Gold is up over 40%. I believe now is the time to find out how you can diversify your savings with gold and silver. That's why I've partnered with Goldco. They offer the best customer service for precious metals ownership. They are also the only gold dealer that offers a first-time gold buyer rebate of up to 10% in bonus silver on qualified purchases. There's no better offer out there. To learn more about how to safeguard your savings from the dollar's decline, visit DineshGold.com. Easy to remember, DineshGold.com.